was described by some users and critics as a simulator. That is a little insane, though. That is a little insane. Wait, that guy looks just like me. The force of just three of the countries within the Commonwealth says no, we're banning your game, and this little developer has to concede immediately. I saw a lot of articles written about this saying that Steam had taken it down, which is just not true. Something I took a look at earlier. I saw somebody send it in my Discord. I was very interested what the fuck was going on with it. And so I've looked into it. a little bit, but here we are. We did it. This game is gone globally from Steam. Victory. Simulation. Game pulled. Thanks to you. So, this was interesting. This was interesting. I did try and look into that. Because I saw that this got like, I mean, it was posted yesterday morning. And it's got like tens of millions of views. Tens of millions of views. Now, a game being pulled. I'm not sure that I've seen Steam do this before. Although, actually, I looked into it. I tried to read into it. And I was like, oh, this is kind of new. This has never really happened before. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, just reset the goal. But it actually has. Was it a game called, like, House Party or something? God, I remember this back in the day. This was one of those games that, like, cropped up for, like, 10 minutes. It cropped up for, like, a week or so, right? And it was, whoa, okay. It cropped up for, like, a week or so. And it was basically just, like, a game that a lot of creators played, made videos about, and it was just, like, a little bit of a lark. But I do actually remember that this got deleted off Steam for a deal of time, because I think there was, like, I think part of it was, God, what was it? There was like certain, like, ways through the game, or certain ways to, like, complete quests, where you basically had to, like, or something like that. Anyway, I'm very, very scared about what video this has gone on to now. Okay, there's no on the actual Steam page. Yeah. But yeah, I remember, so that might have been a thing before. Or it got pulled from Steam Greenlight, I think. So, no, it's not necessarily the first time this has happened. Especially with these kind of, like, visual novel games. Where you're the person, and you're trying to, like, interact, and it's kind of, you're following a story. There's not really much gameplay, and it's kind of you just talk to different characters. But I did look into this. And so this was the statement released. And now this is, Collective Shout is an organization that, I don't know if they were actually the primary people complaining. But I do know that a lot of activist groups kind of, like, got involved with it. I think Steam pulled a game called Rape Day. And I remember thinking the protagonist looked a little bit like me. So is it fair to say, Nicandros, you saw a bit of yourself? You saw a bit of yourself in the main character, the protagonist in is that, yeah? Fucking hell. I can't imagine ever having that. Watching, like, oh damn, this game all about, like, going around like and, like, oh, like, you know, viciously, like, attacking him off the street. Wait, that guy looks just like me. Can I pirate this from somewhere? Is there still a way I can play this? Okay. Anyway, yeah, the No Mercy. It's no longer on the Steam store. So, more than 3,000 emails. Okay, so these are the people who organized at least some of the backlash. Some of the backlash, because I know that this did get attention from the mainstream media as well. So more than 3,000 emails to Gabe Newell, 7,000 signatures on our petition, and then global media attention. So, making it loudly known that we object to 3D rape plus incest simulation games that treat sexual violence as entertainment. So, if this was like RPG Maker, that's 2D, that's fine. That's fine. 3D, however, no. I'm sure they'd probably react to that as well. Another victory because there were so many of you who cared enough to protest, and we thank you and press on. Okay, so that's it. Just to announce that it's been taken down. Obviously, these kind of pressure groups, it's kind of whatever. It seems retarded, especially when, I mean, it's video games at the end of the day. I'm pretty sure Steam does have, well, okay, this is the thing. I'm probably going to get into this a little bit later. Steam's moderation isn't the best, right? In terms of like age verification. But it's actually better than like Pornhub, right? It's better than Pornhub or like these porn websites. Because instead of just clicking, are you over 18? Yes, no. And the yes is like a big colourful button. You know? It's like, okay, you're going to have to enter your like date of birth. And so, you know, are you more likely to be honest? I don't know. Yeah, but anyway. Because I did see a good amount of mainstream reporting on this. Now, I saw this in chat, I think it was Wargaming Dad, and you are right. Yes. It was not taken down from Steam. It was not taken down from Steam. It was taken down by the publishers. By the publishers themselves. And so Newsweek also had an article on this. One sec. Just making sure there's going to be no... No, I did double check this. Okay. There's no, like, porn and, like, rape and stuff. Okay, nice. So, violent and explicit video game called No Mercy has sparked international backlash and political condemnation, with it being removed from the Steam platform globally after being banned in multiple countries. And so this is true. I believe this is true. I know that it is in Australia at the very least, but there'd been a problem with the fact that it didn't have an age rating, which I hadn't actually thought about before, especially not for like essentially online games, right? Especially not for like online games. But I mean, technically, the laws do still apply, even if I'm like an indie developer and I'm kind of putting my video game up on like Steam or like, I don't know. It takes a little bit to get on the Epic Games Store, or if I'm putting it on like itch.io or, some like shitty whatever. If I'm trying to like sell it, technically it needs a classification. Otherwise it's like illegal. Not exactly sure how that works though. If it's unclassified, can it be sold in a store? No. But does that mean that I couldn't personally sell a copy to somebody else? If they just wanted to like send me a PayPal amount and I wanted to send them the game files? You can buy a lot of Steam games without a rating. It's weird. Yeah, but I don't know if that's because of lack of enforcement or because the laws currently actually can't affect Steam. Because it seems like here, it has. Anyway, No Mercy appeared on the PC gaming platform early in April. The game allowed players to control a character who... woman. It did not carry an age rating or content warning. It did not carry an age rating or content warning. Now, when it says it doesn't carry an age rating, I don't know if that's, like, official. I don't know if it's, like, you haven't gone to the government and submitted it for, like, for rating, right? And so it's unrated. It's unclassified. Or a content warning. And was described by some users and critics as a simulator. Um, Now I know that Steam will detect like sensitive content, and you will have to put in your date of birth to be able to like access it, right? And if you're too young, obviously it just kind of like puts you back. I don't think it would be given a classification, but it's being sold. I don't know. I don't know. How do you guys know about these games? My God. Well, me personally, okay, I wait until major news publications like write a story about them. But I'm so I'm not. I mean, personally, okay, I feel put out. I feel put out. I can't believe that I wasn't on this train when it was still on Steam. I can't believe it. There's got to still be a place I can buy it. Surely, surely. I've got to get my copy. I've got to get my copy. Although $10 is a bit steep. $10 is a bit steep. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so No Mercy features scenes in which the player, who then becomes pregnant, gives birth to a baby, and then is insane. That is fucking insane. And so I'm assuming that the majority of the game's content is probably just like be fanfic or whatever. But that's like Joseph Goebbels level like insane content. Because I've seen a lot of people being like, okay, well, it's just fantasy stuff, and like, maybe this is like fine. We should allow people to have like, fantasy like video games if they want to. That is a little insane, though. That is a little insane. The game was created by developer Zarek Games, including scenes of extreme. It was available for a short time before being removed. So banned in the UK, Canada, Australia. Here's the thing. So No Mercy was banned in the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia. Following these bans, Zarek Games voluntarily removed the game from Steam entirely, stating, we don't intend to fight the whole world. People say the British Empire is done for. People say the British Empire is done for. However, the force of just three of the countries within the Commonwealth says no. Says no, we're banning your game. And this little developer has to concede. Has to concede immediately. It's like, oh no, we can't take the pressure. We can't battle on. The whole world is coming after us right now. The whole world. To be fair, I'm guessing it's probably from the public backlash. It seems like the public backlash. So it's still not banned in the US. I mean, the US is not going to ban it. Yeah. Because I know that there obviously are obscenity laws. And there actually a lot of obscenity laws in the US was invented to deal with this particular type of content. God, I've completely forgotten what they're called. Oh. But it was a lot of like when like print media and like publishing and stuff started to become like more and more popular. There was like a lot of there was a lot of comics initially that were to do with like sexual fantasies and basically like cartoon porn, but it didn't have quite the same stigma as today. It wasn't in like a particularly stylized way, but it was like, I think it just looked like a 1950s like propaganda thing. It's like a slightly simple, I guess, drawing of like people. Just like any other comic. But there started to become some that featured like extreme sexual violence. And extremely kind of like sadistic sexual violence. There was a term for them. There was a term for them. Completely forgotten. But there is legislation around media in the US designed to deal with exactly this. And so I do wonder if this was prosecuted by the US government, if they might actually have have legal basis for it. I'm not sure. Anyway, despite international action, No Mercy was not banned in the United States before its removal. At the time it was listed, the game was accessible to US users through Steam. It is now unavailable. There has been no official statement from Valve about why the game was taken down, and no US government agency has issued a ruling on the matter. Okay. I don't know if Valve would. It's just supposed to be like a marketplace. It's just supposed to be like, yeah, a marketplace. And also, Valve is not really subject to much social pressure. That's very cucked of Valve. To be clear, Valve didn't remove it. Valve didn't remove it. The publishers removed it themselves. But Valve isn't publicly traded. It's not publicly traded. It's a privately owned company. Sorry, what I mean is like it's not owned through many people with like different stocks that can be traded on the stock market. And so public backlash like this can't really affect the stock price, right? It's just the business is valued for this much, right? Held by the owners, yeah. And so public criticism and public backlash, it has a very indirect effect on them in terms of like, if something like this happens, are people going to stop using Steam? Well, no. Unless all of the fucking content that people are being recommended on Steam is like weird smut, or like weird sadomasochistic smut, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care who uses Steam. In fact, that is a problem already, I think. That is a problem already. I always hear people talk. I don't really use Steam too much. Unless I actually want to go there, type in the name of a game I want to buy anyway, and they just navigate to the page and buy it. But I have heard people saying that that Steam is essentially, if you look at the games, like 90% of the games actually published on Steam are some like low effort, low budget, like high game. Which I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard so many people say it. I'm just gonna believe it. Yeah. It's just like a smut slop farm, yeah. There is currently no indication that No Mercy will face a legal battle in the US. There should be like a full stop there, I guess. Video games are protected by the First Amendment, and the US does not have a federal body that prohibits games based on content alone. The game is currently unavailable worldwide. Okay, so that's not actually true. That's not actually true. So on Steam, it's unavailable worldwide. But if anything, this public backlash has led to more and more people finding out about it, and more people essentially being able to like learning of the kind of content available. And so I believe if you go right now to the developer's page, you can still buy it. So if you go here, go to their itch page. This is the developer's website. You can still buy it. It's like $10. And so if anything, this has been like a huge Streisand effect where everybody now knows about this game that has like graphic sexual material, graphic sexual violence. Everyone now knows about this. And in the UK, no, I'd be able to buy it through this. Steam was told to stop selling it. Steam was told to stop selling it to the UK. But itch.io hasn't. Because there hasn't been like a huge public backlash. So I think it's probably just had like a huge effect. People have gone crazy about it. And then nothing's probably actually going to happen. Nothing ever changes. But people are celebrating as if anything's really been done. When realistically this has just been like fantastic advertisement. So there's also a Kotaku article. Okay, which I thought, despite what people say about Kotaku, okay, yeah, that's alright. This actually seemed a lot better informed than the other ones. Because I saw a lot of articles written about this saying that Steam had taken it down. Which is just not true. It's just not true. I reserve the right to scam. No, 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 no. I mean, like, particularly explicit, like, scenes. I reserve the right to just, like, essentially just, like, block it for a second just while that's going on, okay? Not that we're going to do, like, a face cam stream where you just see my reaction. But anyway. So No Mercy was already removed by Valve in the UK, Canada, Australia before the announcement. I wonder as well, for, like, such a teeny tiny little shitter game like this, and then essentially, like, I mean, how many different letters, how many different petitions, how many, right? All of this, like, negative activist attention they were getting on it. And then people writing to, like, the UK regulatory agencies, Canada regulatory, Australian regulatory agencies. They probably just thought, fuck it. It's not worth the fucking headache. It's not worth the legal battle to even try and, like, defend ourselves of why we should be allowed to, like, to keep the game on the platform. And so, fuck it, yeah, just, like, get rid of it. Because ultimately, I don't know if Valve probably cares somewhat about the ecosystem, right? They want, like, long-term success for their platform. And so they don't want to, like, willy-nilly just, like, get rid of games. But ultimately, right, it's whatever. It's like a visual novel for, like, weird. Okay. So devs behind controversial game Defend It. That is a crazy genre title. Okay. But Defend It, but say they're going to pull it from Steam anyway. So the studio behind No Mercy recently released a 3D visual novel featuring non-consensual sex and incest. Has announced that it plans to remove the game entirely from Steam after the game attracted controversy online. Valve pulled the game from the United Kingdom after a government official slammed Valve for allowing No Mercy to be sold on the storefront. So this is saying that it was released on March, but I heard before that it was released in April. And so exactly what the details are around a lot of this is probably, like, unclear. It's described by the developers as a 3D, choice-driven adult visual novel with a huge focus on incest and male domination. Now, hopefully, that's domination by men, not of men. Hopefully. Anyway. In the game, players discover that their mother has cheated on their dad, and they are told to claim her for yourself. This leads to multiple scenes involving the player forcing women, including the character's own mother, to... The game's description on Steam includes the line, unveil... Okay. Many people online weren't happy that Valve would allow No Mercy to be sold on Steam. On April 9th, as spotted by gamesindustry.biz. UK Technology Secretary Peter Kyle said No Mercy was deeply worrying in comments made on British talk radio station LBC. He further explained that he expects every tech company to remove content as soon as they possibly can after being made aware of it. I'm guessing content like this. That's what the Online Safety Act requires. It's what I require as Secretary of State, and it's certainly how we expect platforms to operate and have the privilege to access British society and British economy too. Okay. So it's been labelled as adult only and could only be bought using a credit card. Okay. So the game is not rated by the ESRB or PEGI, as Valve does not require games to be rated by those groups to be sold on Steam. As to be fair, it shouldn't. Right? As soon as you require games to be, like, submitted to the ESRB or to PEGI to get, like, a rating, it, like, dramatically shoots up the development cost, even for like indie developers, right? That is a pretty expensive process, especially if you want to, like, file an application, you know, or file an appeal of some sort. Okay. So on April 10th, following all of this and the game being removed in some countries, the developers behind the game posted a lengthy response to the controversy on Steam, addressing calls for the game's delisting. In the statement, the studio confirms it will be removing No Mercy from Steam, but nonetheless defended the game, stating that real incest is quote-unquote disgusting, but that things like that, rape and male domination, are nonetheless popular kinks for many. Fair. Kind of true. Quote, I fully understand that for many people such things may be disgusting, but during sex, people should really do what they want, as long as they don't harm anyone. After reading our statement, if after reading our statement you still believe that such a game should not have been created, then we sincerely apologize to you. At the same time, we would like you to be a bit more open to human fetishes that don't harm anyone. Even though they may seem disgusting to you, this is just a game, and although many people are trying to make it into something more, it remains and will continue to be a game. Kind of fair. It's hard to really disagree with them. Okay, so this is kind of a little bit old. Okay, so players who bought the game will still be able to download, install, and play. Okay, even after it's removed, which is fair. You shouldn't like take those people's money away. But anyway, Jesus Christ, why is a game going over fetishes? So I'm guessing that the thing that they're gonna...
You got dicked. Okay, bro, you're getting too big for your boots.
Blitz Raider tipped £2 through Super Chat. This isn't different to dark romance books for women.
I mean, yeah. This is the thing. And in fact, this is one of the first arguments that me and Babka had. Like genuine, actual arguments. It might be the only time that I've ever actually got really annoyed at her, was arguing like kind of about this. And I think the main difference with this kind of content is between like things for women and then things for men. It's all to do with perspective, right? Obviously, with the video game like this, the perspective is, you know, over the character, right? And so if the main character's male, it's not going to be of like the victim or the woman. And so, right? I guess maybe it could be more focused on the visual aspect. Like a book is one thing, but the whole game is another. I disagree. I can understand that being like an emotional reason for being like more outraged by it, but ultimately, morally, I don't think that really matters. I would say that a big difference is like if it's a book and it's describing a situation, or if it's like narrating it from a person's point of view, right? That can be like enjoyed by either sex, and the perspective can be from either sex, and so it's like a cake book, right? And so for like female dark romance novels, right, it's essentially smut or like erotica, and it involves a lot of themes that might be objectionable, potentially even like this, but that's kind of open-ended, and it's usually from the perspective of somebody who that is falling victim of it, right? Or it's kind of neutral in terms of like the perspective it takes. Whereas this, the player acts out the man who is then doing these acts, and so I feel like that might be why it's slightly different. But ultimately, if people want to play this game, I don't care. I don't care. And I don't think anyone else should care. Like, does this lead to, like, people actually going out and, like, committing crime? Like, no. No, I don't think so. It fundamentally misunderstands why, like, most sexual violence in society happens. It's not people who go out and do this to, like, random people. And it's usually not people acting out on, like, kinks and stuff. It's usually, like, people who are taking advantage of, like, people they're on, like, dates with, usually. Right? That's when it usually happens. But the vast majority of it would be, like, you know, coercive or, like, you know, like, essentially pushing. But nobody's being, like, held down in like a dramatic fashion. So in terms of like this is a harmful game, or it's like harmful media that spreads harmful stuff, it's like maybe? I'm not really convinced of that though. And I don't think there's enough room to be convinced. I think realistically, people hear about this, think it's disgusting and shocking, and then think, God, people really play that? What kind of person plays that? And then think it shouldn't be done. And that's in regards to like censorship of that kind. Like adults shouldn't be playing this, right? It's just purely out of like disgust. But realistically, we live in like a liberal society where people should be able to like create media that they want, digest media that they want, right? Unless there's a good reason to restrict something, and we have good reason to say that this is like going to cause harm to the public, what's the point of restricting it? And with regards to this being accessed by children, obviously, here's the difficult thing for me, and I genuinely don't know how to feel about this, because on one side, I want to say, I think that Steam has better restrictions than something like, Pornhub does, for example. Right? So, it'd be a lot easier for a child to be able to, like, go onto Pornhub and find, like, I don't know, like, stuff, like videos, than for them to be able to go onto Steam, because it would usually be blocked. If they've already got an account, and they've already put their age in, and their parents, like, checks over their account, like, yep, you've got the proper age in, maybe they put parental controls on, like, their account or whatever, right? It shouldn't be able to be accessed. So this is harder to see. But then on the other side, I think what is actually allowed on most sites, this kind of content, I imagine, would be banned. This kind of content would be banned on like a mainstream, pretty sure. You also need a credit card on Steam. That's a good point. Yeah.